The attention of the world sits on France for the 2024 Summer Olympic Games. Yes, it is finally here, and you can catch all of the action right here on News Channel 7. As our team prepared for coverage of the Games, we found an interesting relationship between the site of the Olympic Games and the state of Idaho. Joe Parris took a trip to eastern Idaho with a trip of Parisian connection.
It's all the rage these days, the culture of France. Berets, baguettes, the Eiffel Tower, beautiful scenes on display for the Games of the 33rd Olympiad. The eyes of the world are centered on Paris, France for the 2024 Olympic Games, but about 5,000 miles away, there's another Paris that has our attention. Right here, north of Bear Lake, is Parris, Idaho. You may find some shades of French culture, but the Parisians here in the Gem State have their own unique culture. Nestled in the eastern corner of the Gem State, Parris, Idaho, settled in September of 1863 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Parallels to Paris, France can be found 161 years later. An easy one spotted on the signage of Petals of Paris, a colorful outlet for summertime flowers. There's no Eiffel Tower in this town, but you will find a signature French feature, pastries.
We are sitting in the middle of downtown Parris, Idaho at El Camino Donuts.
Clint Goodrich has called Paris home for about 3 years. He burns the midnight oil here, baking donuts and cinnamon rolls.
They are genuine Paris pastries and donuts.
The Goodrich family traveled through the Parris, Idaho area for about 20 years. The unique opportunity to open shop here prompted a permanent placement in Paris. This historic building just draws you in.
Ghost in the machine kind of thing. You hear noises, and you know, old buildings have noises, and there's lots of old history here. It was built in 1895. It started out as a mercantile, and then it was a grocery store for 50 years after that, called the old Bear Lake Market.
Certainly a risk, setting up shop in a small Idaho town.
In the very beginning, there was a lot of skepticism about what we were going to do and if we were sane. And within a week after opening, we were literally overwhelmed by the local population and people traveling through.
New community energy for Parris, Idaho now radiates from Main and Center Street. It's not limited to pastries. Another Paris parallel is found on the walls and halls of El Camino Donuts.
We were really overwhelmed at the positive reception that we've had.
Karen Goodrich displays her original works through the shop. Meticulous and colorful creations that create a unique gallery aesthetic. Unlike the French Louvre, patrons in this Paris can buy art right off the wall.
Did you ever, imagine that your art would be displayed in Paris?
No, I didn't. It's pretty neat. It's pretty fun being here. I usually specify I'm from Parris, Idaho. When we travel, I usually add Idaho to the word Paris. But it's a fun name, and it's part of the fun of being here is to have a name like that.
It's a name worth traveling for.
We have people who come from Paris, France, and we always have a good laugh about them visiting the real Paris.
Yeah, because this is the real Paris.
It is, yes.
Karen's art catches the eye quickly. Beautiful colors and textures. Art is a French institution, going back to what seems like forever ago. Cave paintings as you head to the south of France, an inspiration that traveled many miles to land here.
Petroglyphs and cave paintings are some of my favorite subject matter. I like the primitiveness of it. I think about what those people did with no supplies and used some kind of paint to make the colors that they did, but they are actually some of my favorite artists, is the cave painters from France.
If it's caves you're looking for, Paris parallels include that too. Outside of Parris, Idaho sits the Minnetonka Cave. The state of Idaho proudly holds limestone rock formations that are truly remarkable and well worth navigating the 888 stairs deep into the earth to see it all. It hosts millions of years of still developing drip formations. No cave paintings here. There was actually very little human interaction with this cave until the early 1900s, but you will find breathtaking stalactites and stalagmites, those formed as history passed in the outside world. Speaking of history, the original colonization of Paris predates the discovery of the cave. Colonization is credited to about 30 people originally, but it soon grew to more than 700. A pioneer project of Paris still stands today. Paris, France has the Cathedral Notre Dame, originally completed in 1345. A little more than 500 years later, 1888, the incredible LDS community of Parris, Idaho, completed the historic Parris Tabernacle. Brigham Young sent a team to establish the site, and that included an engineer who surveyed and laid out the town. His name, Fred Parris. It is his name, not France, that inspired the name of Parris, but Fred actually spelled his name P-E-R-R-I-S, not P-A-R-I-S. Till this day, it's really unclear how the town name was communicated to Idaho leaders as P-A-R-I-S, but the locals may tell you about the long-running thought. Somehow, the United States Postal Service may have been involved. Either way, the legacy of the tabernacle stands as we speak. It holds about 1,500 people, with every perspective inside designed for a clear view of the pulpit. Speaking of the locals, you can find them here during the hot summer. Beautiful Bear Lake. France has the French Riviera, an icon of Europe. Shores lined with the French relaxing and enjoying the scenes. Some are brave enough to even hop in for a swim in the Mediterranean. It's a great scene, but the aesthetic of the water is tough to compare to what's called the Caribbean of the Rockies. Beautiful shades of blue and turquoise at Bear Lake, an inspiration for Karen's art.
If I'm not mistaken, there's calcium carbonate in the water or in the lake bottom that causes that turquoise color, but it's really probably the prettiest lake I've ever seen.
Colors and feelings captured and hung on the walls of El Camino Donuts, a spot that has brought new energy into the historic town of Parris, Idaho.
Thank you, guys.
That's the vibe we get off of our customers, and we hear that on a regular basis. So again, it's what's being shared with us, and we feel the reflection. That's what we feel is our most successful thing.
Joe Parris, Idaho's News Channel 7.
How cool is that, and how sweet did those sweets look? Our team wants to thank Parris, Idaho for their hospitality, a great Idaho community. Go stop by and have, of course, the best donuts and see that fantastic artwork in Parris, Idaho. The Olympic ceremony officially signifying the start of the Olympics tomorrow. You can watch the opening ceremonies with us on the big screen for free. We will be at Jump in downtown Boise starting at 5 o'clock tomorrow. The opening ceremonies start on the Jumbotron at 6:30.